So today we're going to be talking about a number of things. Most importantly, being able to define success on Facebook. Success could be a few different things depending on what you're looking to achieve. And without understanding what success or what end result that you want, it's really hard to develop a Facebook strategy. So what I define as success in Facebook is being able to increase the people talking about number as much as possible. So you guys, is anyone here familiar with what people talking about is or does? Kind of, sort of? Okay. Who thinks that they can define what it is and what it means in this group? It's very hard. I couldn't even do it for a long time. But essentially what the people talking about number is, it's a daily number that's generated based off of the total likes, comments, and shares from any of your content on Facebook. And that's a daily number. The people talking about number right now is the one number that, like, when Facebook talks about engagement, and like we see all these trade articles about how Facebook is only exposing you to a certain audience base of your entire fan page, blah, blah, blah. They're talking about the people talking about number. For a lot of brands and for a lot of people who are looking to establish a strong Facebook presence, they're not necessarily concentrating on that number, and they should be. A lot of people who are looking to start strong Facebook presences are surely looking at that total number of fans and are actually spending a lot of money to get there. But as I like to say, it's like, what's the purpose of having 1 million fans on Facebook if you're only reaching, or you only have 1,000 people talking about this? So I'll give you an example right now of some fan pages that are major corporate fan pages, unless they disappeared, and they did. Oh, no, they didn't. Okay. So here is Verizon Wireless. Oh, and I forgot to add, this is being live streamed on Google Live Hangout. They're one of the sponsors of this panel. So right here. So as you can see, Verizon Wireless, this is a verified Facebook fan page. They have 6.8 million fans or likes, but they're talking about number, which is right here, and this is where it's located on every fan page. Is 43,720. So that means that they're actually engaging only that amount of people on a daily basis. So there are certain Facebook fan pages who have 43,728 total likes or fans that are engaging that total number. So Verizon is definitely losing out on a huge opportunity to actively engage with their community. The reason that number is so low is because Facebook likes to change up its algorithms on people and on brands. And essentially, it wants you to pay to reach your audience that you've already paid to achieve. So it's kind of a double whammy, but obviously Facebook is a business, and they do what they have to do to be able to achieve their revenue goals and things of that nature. So that's a huge disparity between 8.6 million fans or likes and then only 43,000 people being reached every day. So we'll take you to another one, which is a little more extreme. We have Coca-Cola here, who has 81 million fans. And if you look at the people talking about number, they only have 1 million people talking about them on a daily basis. So if you go to our fan page, right here, you see that we have 536,000 fans on Being Latino, and we have 2 million plus talking about us on a daily basis. So we don't pay to promote our media, ever. We don't pay for fans. The reason that we've been able to achieve this success and being able to have engagement that high is because we've been able to understand and how Facebook algorithms entirely, and being able to understand how to basically navigate around them. Most brands are not taking the time to figure out how to navigate around them, because most brands probably don't have somebody like me who's like a Facebook geek who makes like Excel spreadsheets to understand how algorithm shifts, changes strategy. But nonetheless, we've been able to skate around that, and I'll tell you a little bit about how and why. Let me get back to this. Does anyone have any questions about this before I go on? Alrighty. Nobody laughed at my Facebook spelling either. So we know that, like I was saying before, like a lot of the trades will come out, even like the Mashables of the world and other social media trades will say, oh my gosh, Facebook is like, they're so mean, they change all these algorithms, and you know, and they're forcing us to pay for our work. And it's not fair. It's not fair, Facebook. You charged us so much money to get these fans, and now we can't even reach them. So you're going to charge us again. That's so not fair. So going back to what I was saying before and being able to really understand how to best leverage your Facebook fan page, it comes down to really understanding who your demographic is and how to be able to speak to them in a way that makes sense, that's relevant, and offers them some sort of value. Most branded fan pages, I would say, don't take most of that into consideration, coincidentally. They like to leverage it as a marketing sort of only type of platform, be like, oh yeah, and today, you know, here's this new service that's coming on for $59.99. It's like, people don't care about that. They're like, they see that on TV, they see it on other places everywhere, and they go to Facebook to be entertained. They go to Facebook to be connected. They go to Facebook for relevant news. They don't go to Facebook necessarily to know that the $59.99 package is out and it's awesome, because to them, it's not awesome. And then what I've seen a lot from brands is that they know that their fans are not engaging with that content, so they've put a ton of money against it, and they force it to show up in people's news streams. Which is great, because you do get those additional impressions, and you do probably force some likes, comments, and shares. But what you also do is, if it annoys somebody to a certain extent that they're seeing pretty much an ad that's in the middle of their Facebook stream, they can have the option right then and there to hide all the posts from your page forever. So you will never reach them once again organically. They would have to go to your Facebook fan page specifically to see anything again. So from a paid perspective, a paid media perspective of being like, okay, yeah, we will reach more people, and we will do this, we will do that, make sure that it's never something that comes off as like a commercial, because people are not trying to see that at all. And that goes into figuring out how to switch up your strategy. So obviously, we want to have a Facebook page because we are marketers and we are trying to reach certain people who may want our service or product. So we can't forget about that entirely. But we do have to understand that if we only use it in the way that it shouldn't be used, it's going to be entirely inefficient. And I know that a lot of people are now concentrating on Facebook and building up this strategy, so you never want to be able to sort of waste your time with this in any capacity. And I see Facebook fan pages who have an entire team of people. Like, I'm talking about like 10 people who are solely dedicated to a brand's Facebook page who have yet to achieve like 1% engagement, 1 or 2% engagement. So you're talking about anywhere from, let's say, $500,000 to $1 million in allocated resources as employees dedicated to a Facebook fan page that literally has an untrackable ROI. So it really comes up to switching up your strategy. So one thing that I tell a lot of my clients is that it's not necessarily about the quantity of like marketing messaging at all, and it's not necessarily even a point of using Facebook as a place for any marketing messaging. The opportunity that you have on Facebook is to be able to cultivate a community who is interested in your product. If somebody's going to click that they like Verizon, it's not because like they're bored or anything. They have some sort of affiliation to Verizon. And being able to understand how to tap into them at any point is the most valuable aspect that Facebook communities can offer a brand in any capacity, period. So you never want to take advantage of that fact, and that's why you have to be extremely cognizant of when and how to use that platform for marketing. What I do, for the most part, is I tell brands that it should be like a 75-20 rule, where 75% of the time you're providing content that's either extremely entertaining, extremely relevant, extremely timely, funny, does very well on Facebook, and allocate that only about 25% of your posts or less to actual like marketing like language. And whenever you do that 25% of marketing like language, you have to make it more branded entertainment like before anything else. So it's not a place that, again, people are going to be engaging with your content unless they're getting some sort of value out of it. I don't know if anyone is part of like the Skittles or likes the Skittles fan page. Does anyone here like them? You do? Okay. If you notice, a lot of their, or most of their posts have nothing to do with like marketing language at all. They think about how to use Skittles in extremely creative aspects that have like nothing to do with sales. Like they want to be able to create a really cool brand that people look forward to engaging with on a daily basis, you know? So like if Skittles were my client, I would do something like, you know, make like I love being Latino out of Skittles. And like that's the type of stuff that they do all the time with their product. They think extremely outside the box, and they have the numbers to prove that they're doing something right. Their engagement is incredibly high. I believe that the last time I checked, they're at about 30%. I would need somebody to verify that for me. But 30% is a lot more than the average 2% right now across all Facebook branded fan pages. So understanding your audience is a big component to being able to switch up your strategy. If you are posting things on your Facebook fan page and it's generating low engagement, you want to scale back on the amount of times that you post that type of content. If you're posting content on Facebook that does generate comments, likes, shares, so on and so forth, you want to make a very conscious effort to increase that amount. A lot of Facebook fan pages I would say that they post about twice daily on Facebook. We post twice every 2 hours. So like we're posting once an hour compared to like what these other people are doing. And the reason that we do that, again, is because Facebook's algorithm is only limiting a certain portion of your audience to actually see your posts. So 10 posts back to back to back to back to back over 10 hours is not meaning that your entire audience is seeing that. You're reaching different portions of your existing audience by doing that. And that's a huge, huge, huge thing for marketers to understand. Another thing about Facebook is that they are a platform who, Mark Zuckerberg, first of all, he's a very brilliant guy. They're trying to monopolize the internet, period. And what I mean by that is that Facebook doesn't want you going anywhere else except Facebook. And they will do anything to keep you there. And they will do anything to keep the people who you are trying to reach there as well. And because of that, whenever you post an article or a link to an external website on Facebook, nobody sees that. I can tell you that right now. If you post it and you embed it, and then you see like a thing and you're like, all right, cool, I have this awesome article, I'm gonna post it on Facebook, nobody's gonna see it. I'm talking about like 2% of your audience, maybe will see it. Facebook rewards anything that drives engagement or keeps people on Facebook. So because of that, a picture versus an article that I was saying gets 1 or 2% of your audience reach, a picture will generate anywhere from 20 to 30% exposure to your entire audience, just because it's a picture. People are not going off of Facebook to see it. People click on it, they stay on Facebook, awesome. Facebook wants to keep you there. A video, which is Facebook hosted, not a YouTube embedded video, a Facebook hosted video will get about 30 to 40% exposure to your total fan base because you're not leading anyone to go off. Facebook has that as the highest engaging type of content because Facebook wants to go head to head with the company who's sponsoring this because they want to be about video as well. Right now, YouTube obviously owns that marketplace, but Facebook's making very aggressive moves to be a player in online video content, which is one of the reasons that they acquired Instagram a couple months ago. So being able to understand that different post types plays a huge part in being able to effectively reach your audience is something that marketers have to totally understand. And it's not necessarily something that they have to scale back on, given that Facebook is only exposing certain forms of content to only small percentages of your audiences. You really have to think of ways to increase the amount of, or the overall frequency of posts on Facebook to make sure that you're relevant. When brands are posting, you know, a brand fan page with 1 million people, and they're posting twice a day to reach, you know, their audience base, they're gonna have a people talking about number of like probably like 1,000 out of like 1 million. So it's like, you really have to understand that that 1,000 could easily be 5,000, 10,000, 20,000, 1 million, 2 million. We've doubled or we've quadrupled our fan base with the people talking about number because we've taken all of these things into consideration in knowing that all of this stuff plays a huge part on reaching your total audience base. Optimizing paid strategy. So, like I said, Mark is a really smart guy. He knows that Facebook is a business, and he is trying to make it more profitable. So there are certain instances, like although we do a lot of great things with not paying Facebook to get exposure, there are certain times where paid media is necessary. I work with like a lot of brands right now who, for whatever reason, want content on YouTube, and they don't know that Facebook hosted content via video is the best thing for them, and they want us to help them out in getting video views on a YouTube video from our Facebook platforms. When I'm forced into a situation like that, we would put paid media against that Facebook video to get a certain amount of exposure to our audience, because like I said before, Facebook never wants you to have anything that drives somebody off of Facebook, especially when it goes to YouTube. But there are certain instances where it is necessary, and there are certain instances where it's not necessary. And there are the majority of instances where paid strategy on a brand's end is essentially filtering money into the toilet because it's really not going anywhere at all. Just because brands aren't taking full advantage of targeting options on Facebook, which tremendously will drive a ton more engagement. An example, I was working with a very huge brand who wanted me to handle their advertising for fan acquisition. They wanted to basically get a lot of likes on Facebook. And whenever I am forced into those situations, I always ask, well, how much is like one fan worth to you? Or how much have you been paying for your fan acquisition pre-Lance Rios? For the most part, you'll see anywhere from $1 to $2 every fan that they will pay. So if they have 1 million fans, that means that they spent at least $1 million in Facebook advertising. But for me, I've gotten as low as 3 cents a fan off of that $1 to $2 acquisition cost. Same exact demographic, same exact audience. But that shows the disparity and the lack of understanding in really being able to figure out how to not only target, but create relevant advertising on Facebook. In other options or other capacities, I mentioned this before, but a lot of times a brand will have a 30-second commercial that they put on YouTube. Nobody goes to YouTube to watch commercials, and they want to make sure that they have this video on YouTube that people will see it. So they pay a lot of money to run that ad as a 30-second pre-roll before you watch that cool viral video that you're watching or whatever. And after, there's like a little thing in the lower right-hand corner of whenever a commercial shows up on YouTube. You guys know what I'm talking about? Okay. And you get the option to skip that ad. How many people skip that ad? Okay, yeah, everyone does. Nobody wants to see a commercial on YouTube, right? So there's a challenge there that marketers are facing because they know that the commercial is created for television, but they're like, well, a lot of young people don't watch television as much as these people, and this is our demographic right here, so we have to reach these people who are watching viral videos, and you end up annoying the crap out of these young people who you're trying to reach because they don't want to see your commercial at all. So what a lot of people have done is they take that 30-second commercial and they're like, all right, well, they're skipping over it on YouTube because they have the option to do so. So let's take that 30-second commercial as itself and let's put it on Facebook so they have to watch it. And then we're going to put money on it so that it shows up in everyone's stream. And everyone's going to watch it, and it's going to be a viral commercial video. It's like commercials don't go viral unless you're like really, really awesome, like the Old Spice guy and like, well, Skittles, I'll use them again because they're funny. But that's not the way to do it. Jorge. Yeah. Yeah. Correct. You want me to dig a little deeper on that? Okay. So If you guys didn't hear his question, he wanted to know what my thoughts were on like CPC, which stands for cost per click for advertising, or CPM, which means cost per thousand reached, and what my thoughts are on that. I never do cost per click ever. It is expensive, one, and a lot of the clicks, I mean, and this is like in most digital instances, but like a lot of the clicks on your advertisements are by accident, like 85% of them. Like nobody is gonna be like, oh, let me look on the right-hand side of Facebook and then find out where it is and then click on it. That's not something that happens ever. So I would definitely suggest going for a CPC advertisement, unless you're not looking for fan acquisition and you are looking for direct clicks to a microsite, to a video, to whatever, and you really need clicks to any of those environments. But for fan acquisition, meaning getting a lot of Facebook likes, always go the CPM route. It never guarantees that people will click on your advertisement, but it's a lot cheaper, and if you're really creative, it's a lot cheaper than the other version, because you can be a lot more creative in enticing people to want to click on it while being exposed to a way larger audience. Does that make sense? I steer all my clients to CPM. I never, I hate CPC on Facebook, really. Anyone else have any questions about that or want me to dig a little deeper? Okay, what's your question? Oh, you want? CPC versus CPM? Okay. Yeah, okay, oh, so you want to know how it works? Correct. Okay, so you said that getting fan acquisition from Latin America is a lot cheaper than getting fan acquisition in the United States. Uh. Yeah, well, okay, so I can answer that briefly. U.S. Hispanics they're hard to target on Facebook, period, because there's no way, nobody clicks on Facebook when creating an account, Hispanic or white or black or whatever, and then most Hispanics, or a lot of Hispanics, most Hispanics on Facebook, which is 40%, are entirely bilingual. U.S. Hispanics are entirely bilingual, so the majority of those profiles are already set to English. 35% are entirely English dominant Hispanics, so they're only going to have their profile set up in English, and then like 20% are Spanish dom. So if you're looking to target those people, it's like, well, language isn't going to work because like the majority of these people are not speaking in Spanish, so I'm going to be missing a huge chunk of this audience, and I just, there's no option to click, Hispanic or whatever. So it becomes a little more challenging in being able to target Hispanics on Facebook in the United States. When you're talking about targeting in Latin America, and so you're saying it's cheaper, it's 100% cheaper because everyone in Venezuela is going to speak Spanish. So you could do, if you want a Venezuelan target, you do everything in Spanish, and then you're going to be able to reach a way larger audience because it's not going to be nearly as segmented as a U.S. Digital consumer is. Does that make sense? Okay. Sure. Yeah. Mm. Well, the people who you're talking to at Facebook, who are your strategists for like your dedicated page or whatever that you get, they're from Facebook's business development department. So that means they're salespeople. They want to make you spend as much money as possible because at the end of the day, they're not necessarily there to service you. And it will, yeah. Oh, so you put paid posts against all of your posts? Oh, okay. Well, I guess to put it in perspective, because I don't know what type of content you're posting, but yesterday we posted 20 times in 24 hours, right? And then the people talking about we reached 2 million people on a fan page of 500,000. When we post less, we do post less, and depending on the content, but it will substantially decrease our content. But we also make sure that all of our content is like on point, and it's like super funny, super relevant, super whatever, and we're never trying to market to people unless we do like a really cool branded initiative in any capacity. As a brand, I'm assuming that some of your content, or the majority of your content, is relevant directly to driving sales in some capacity or trying to figure out how to basically increase an ROI on Facebook, otherwise you probably wouldn't be having one, correct?
No, the 80-20 rule.
You have the 80-20 rule? Okay. So if you're well, you have an 80-20 rule. Okay, so what type of content then? Maybe that will help me answer your question. There's a mic. What type of engagement content is making up that 80%?
Like funny e-cards.
What is your brand?
Disney.
Oh, okay. So you do a lot of funny e-cards?
We do e-cards. We do content, about our characters. Cute pictures about families at our parks and stuff like that.
Okay. Well, those are even though they seem like they're like more engagement based, like whenever there's anything that has to deal directly with your brand or like showing like families or whatever, that's not necessarily going to generate a huge amount of engagement. And you also didn't mention that you guys are posting like a lot of Facebook hosted non-branded videos, which is another huge component to being able to drive a ton of awareness. As I mentioned earlier, that's giving you about your fan page. Every time you do something like that successfully, it'll get your fan page about 40% exposure versus pictures that are almost decreasing that in half. So if you did, let's say for instance, 6 videos that were very relevant, funny, or engagement as you categorize it, you will pretty much triple the engagement that you have right now off of your 3 posts overall. Just because of the exposure elements of that engagement should be extremely video heavy because videos are what drives Facebook. Anytime somebody shares a video with their other fans, once they click on that video, it drives them directly back to the Disney page. So unlike a picture where if somebody shares it, it'll show up in their stream, they'll like it, but they're not seeing it exposed and they're not seeing like the actual the fan page that it's coming from. So you're missing out on an opportunity to do that. It's not necessarily about frequency, it comes down to the content and being able to identify the quality of the content and making sure that like whatever it is that you're driving makes entire sense to your audience. So the frequency of Facebook posting is not necessarily the big thing when you're talking about like engagement overall. It's being able to figure out like what type of really quality type of content is going to really captivate people's attention. But I would be interested in seeing the frequency deliverables behind that and what post types that you were actually using.
The more exposure you get.
Okay.
What are your thoughts on reposting content, right? So let's say last week I had a video that was really successful, but maybe only reached, 10% of my audience. Would you recommend reposting something?
Was it a Facebook hosted video?
Yeah, let's say it was. I mean, I don't know exactly, but I'm just for example's sake.
Yeah, okay, so if you had like something that was really cool and you're like, all right, that got a ton of engagement, let me do this again, you're asking pretty much? Mm-hmm. The reason I asked if it was a Facebook hosted video because that versus a YouTube video is gonna totally change like the game. But what I would suggest if it is a Facebook hosted video and it did really, really well, re-upload it to Facebook.
Okay.
Don't share it because once you share content from any other pages or your own page, again to Facebook, you're decreasing the amount of exposure that you're getting. So like let's say I said like 40%, video reaches about 40%, right? So you're only gonna reach about 20% or less with the share. So that's like a Facebook weird algorithm thing that basically will detract people from engaging with that content.
So let's say I'm re-uploading. Would you recommend then, like let's say at the end of every 2 months, cleaning up your page so it doesn't look like you have like duplicated videos in your...
Like the time frame between like actually doing that, you're asking? Like what's a substantial?
Yeah, because I mean, I'm constantly like cleaning up pages. Like if you have, I'll notice like brands don't necessarily manage their page. So they'll have like an events tab that doesn't have an event from 2 years ago. So I'm constantly like, oh, let's go take this down. Oh, this video was duplicated 4 times. why was it posted like that? Now I see one reason why it could have been posted like that, but would you recommend cleaning it up in case users were going to those inside pages and realizing that it's a little weird?
Yeah, I mean, I would suggest, I don't know if it's like a time thing, but it's probably determined on like the actual frequency that you're using. Like I would say like after 20 posts, pretty much it's non-existent, like once again. So however long it takes you to get to about 20 posts, if it's a month or 2 weeks, like that would probably, I guess, serve the purpose. Well, hold on, let me make this official now.
Oh. So I'm on the official first question. No, so my question is, I think my biggest dilemma is not, I have an awesome creative team that comes up with really great content. My problem is convincing the client that we need to do what you're saying, which is the 75% engaging news, timely stuff, and the much smaller percentage of offers. I hate posting stuff that's like we try to hide it. We'll write really cool, copy, and then at the end it's like $6.99 per pound, and it's just kind of like, ugh, it really kills it. So I don't know how do you convince your clients that it's the entertainment, newsworthy, timely information that really works on Facebook?
Well, it's hard. It's hard because, and I actually have something for you that I want to show you while I'm answering this question. It's really hard to convince a lot of clients who don't necessarily understand Facebook and they hire you because you're the expert to tell them how to do things, because you're going to be like, no, it's got to be engaging, it's got to be this. And they're going to be like, why the hell am I giving you money? Because you're creating something that has nothing to do with driving sales at all. And it's like, well, again, I think to my point earlier, it's being able to really cultivate that community so that if you really do have something that needs, your company's going under and you're like, holy crap, I really need to reach 2 million people, you're reaching them because your engagement is creating an algorithm through Facebook that essentially is allowing you to be seen by more people. So if you have to plug into marketing messaging or in any capacity, then your marketing message will be seen by a lot of people. But if you're only doing marketing stuff, it's like driving down that people talking about. So it's less effective overall. So like I think that would sort of be my response to them, because it's very important to be able to increase that overall people talking about, because if you don't get to that point, then your page becomes almost irrelevant in being able to cultivate an audience. Before I go to the next question, I'm going to, I think this should sort of answer your question about the frequency and Facebook telling you that, okay, so you see Facebook, or our Being Latino page has 2 point whatever people talking about. It's 500,000 people. We have, by the way, we have over 100 Facebook fan pages that are actively engaged. And I have lots of community managers who basically follow our content schedule. But we have different content schedules for different pages. Yesterday, DigiBunch, so if you see it's 70,000 likes, and then 38,679 people talking about. This content on DigiBunch is essentially the same type of content as Being Latino. Almost no difference at all. But you see the people talking about this number is about, well, it's still a phenomenal number because most fan pages are at 2%, to put it in perspective. So it's not like that's a horrible number, but it's, it's about 50%. The reason being because that fan page has 1/3 of the frequency as of yesterday of total postings of the same exact type of content, same exact demographic of people. So that's sort of a direct case study from our end in terms of frequency of postings and how it does affect the people talking about number. Does that make sense? Cool, all right. Yep.
I came in late. What's the percentage of Being Latino? For engagement, people talking about it?
What's the percentage?
Yeah.
A little over 400.
Sorry, so you have 536,000 people talking about it. Is how many?
A little over 2 million.
Got it. So, understood. Thanks.
Cool. Was there more to it? It sounded like you had more.
Just the frequency. I didn't know.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
So, less frequent than DigiBunch, more frequent than Being Latino, therefore more engagement on Being Latino.
Correct, yeah. And that's what I was speaking to her about earlier. And here's another question that I'll just answer up front, because I'm assuming that a lot of people have those questions, is like, Lance, you have 500,000 people on Facebook. How the hell are you reaching over 2 million doesn't make sense. You're going to be quadrupling your audience base. It just does not make sense. It's because people will share content, and through the shares of content, their friends who may not be engaging or like being Latino will engage with that post specifically, so you do reach that additional audience base. Well, I'll let you choose people.
How you doing, Lance?
What's up, Jose?
I've noticed there's a trend with apps and marketing apps within Facebook. What do you think is the best way to market apps for Latinos within Facebook?
What's the best way to market the apps through Facebook?
Yes, because then there's now, if you notice, when you go on Facebook with your mobile phone, there's a bar that says featured apps. So there's a section where there's sponsored apps on there. Now, I noticed they're pretty much targeted to, just the basic, user. But how could we, I would say, market that for Latinos or Hispanics in a better way?
Hire me. No, I'm joking. I guess it depends on what the app does, who it's trying to reach. Well, give me an example of an app so I can answer, I guess, a little more directly. A DJ app, and what the DJ app helps DJs only mix music. Oh, okay, so it's like music, and then it finds other music, whatever. Okay, so something like that, you could do a lot of cool targeting for something like that. Facebook gives you an option on the CPM base, well, you can do CPM or CPC, but do CPM, where you can target other pages. You go into an advanced targeting, so you can target Pandora, you can target whatever. If it's a DJ app that's only dedicated to Latinos, then you do Pandora, Daddy Yankee, Don Omar, Jenny Rivera, whoever, and then you do fan targeting off of that directly. If you're going to use a visual, you can use a very strong visual of perhaps a celebrity that you'd be targeting against their fan page or things of that nature, so that it makes more sense to your audience base. Because like you were saying, like in the Facebook featured apps or whatever, it's like, yeah, but it's great because it gives you a ton of exposure, but it gives you exposure to an extremely wide audience. You want to be able to target those like really niche, people who like music and Latin music or whatever it may be. Does that make sense?
Lance, this is Sebastian. I have a question. Do you have any study about embedding Facebook posts in blogs, or how is the relationship with engagement? Does it create new engagement?
Okay, so you're saying, for example, like like when you read Mashable and like they're talking about a celebrity, and then like you see the celebrity post that from their Facebook page in the blog, and then you could actually engage with that post, whatever. Actually, I think that for the most part, it's pretty low. And I don't have the case studies to prove it, but what I can tell you is that, because most people, when they see those things, they don't really engage with the post itself. They don't like comment directly on Facebook from the blog, because they're on the blog. Their point is to read more gossip or whatever and go on with their lives. What it can do is that whenever you do that and embed it into a blog, you have the option to like that page directly from that embedded element in the blog. So it can create an additional route of filtering people, or filtering basically more likes overall. But in terms of engagement, not so much.
Hi, I'm Letitia. I have a question about, I know that being Latino is very photo-heavy, photo-driven, and to complain about recent Facebook changes. They just changed their algorithm to push photos down and to bubble up text.
That's
just
a lie.
Text only. What's that?
That's not true. Facebook
That's
went
not
out and
true?
they said that, and they haven't implemented that yet. It's still very active. Facebook has a tendency to do this. Never trust what you read in these trades when it comes to Facebook is probably what I should have started off with. Facebook will announce something that they plan on doing 3 months later. I don't think she was done with her question though. But Facebook will announce something like they're saying like it's immediately happening. Right now, we're changing our algorithm. Changing an algorithm takes a lot of time, and there's a lot of different elements that you have to switch internally where it doesn't happen immediately. So when they say it, don't always trust it. Trust what your postings are and how they're doing to really see if that change has been implemented or not. But currently, it has not been pushed down or anything like that.
And second part question, does sharing other pages' content do anything for your engagement? Like if I share your being Latino, does that do anything for my engagement?
If you share something from being Latino, well, it depends on your content. If your content is a little more let's say, for instance, like your content is a little more serious all the time, or it's a little more fact-driven all the time. A post from Being Latino can help your engagement because it's going to be not fact-driven or not like super serious. So it gives you the ability to shake things up by doing that. If your content is funny and entertaining and then some like really breaking news and it's very similar to Being Latino, it's not going to really change. It's really not going to help your engagement. It's not going to hurt it, but it's not going to help it. So it depends on your actual content. And if you're looking to differentiate it in any capacity, that's a great way to create engagement in a different arena. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay.
Have 3 questions. I hope you can answer all of them. The first one is which metric on Facebook has more weight on the talking about this? The share, a like, or a comment?
It's a combined number of all 3 of those things.
So none of them has more weight than the
No.
other one?
No.
Okay.
But what I can tell you from that aspect is that a like and a comment, when somebody likes or comments on anything on Facebook, there is like a very small percentage, but there is a percentage of the fact that they commented on that Facebook fan page that'll show up on somebody else's stream who's not already a fan of that page. Like if 2 of your friends were to comment on Being Latino and you didn't like or whatever Being Latino, there's a good likelihood that you'll see it somewhere like so-and-so commented on blah, blah, blah. You'll see it. But the chances of that are very slim. A share, though, it drives way more visibility to your Facebook fan page because obviously they're taking the initiative to share it directly with their audience. So no matter what, a higher percentage of their audience base will be exposed to your content. So in terms of overall reach, it does expand it. But in terms of the people talking about number, that's just a total collective, like hard math. This plus this equals that.
Okay. The second question is what would be a poster child post, the perfect post that would create the most engagement?
I'm sorry?
If you were to do a post that, okay, let's make a recipe for the perfect post, what would be that?
A recipe for a perfect post?
Yeah.
A formula of success.
Yeah. Like, let's say I have to post this content,
Yeah.
whatever content you want. It has to be perfect. What would be your ideal?
It has to be perfect. Okay. Then I would suggest what I told Jose before to hire me, and then we'll work on. No. So a recipe for success. I think. Well, you know what? It really varies. Like there's no generic cookie cutter answer to that, unfortunately. Sorry, I wasn't speaking loud enough. Has everyone been able to hear me? The back. Okay. Sorry. There's no direct recipe for success. It depends on your content and your brand. If I were to tell you just a very generic answer, the one thing that I would tell you is try to be extremely conscious of switching up the types of content that you're posting. Post-type content meaning a picture, an article, a video. And although I said earlier, articles really don't go anywhere, it helps you manipulate Facebook's algorithm because it shows that you're providing a plethora of content types, and you're not just doing all videos or all pictures or all this or whatever. So make sure that you're frequently posting different types of content consistently on Facebook.
Okay, and the last question, I'm in news, so we cannot kind of predict the posts. Basically depends on breaking news and everything. So what would be your suggestion for a news page in which basically we are trying to, promote our content, so we use a lot of links. So when you were talking about links don't go anywhere, I was a kind of concerned because that's basically what we do. We have a good number of talking about this, but still I want to have it a bigger one. So what will be your advice?
Okay. Well, I'll share one of my secrets with you then. Well, if you look at ABC News on Facebook, you'll see that they post once every hour, 24 hours a day. And from a news perspective, that's like, it seems like a lot, but they make sure that yeah, exactly. You're shaking your head no?
2 or 3 times an hour.
Yeah, exactly. Because news is called news because it's new. And you want to make sure that all the new news is getting out there in a relevant time. So yeah, frequency for that is extremely important. If you're looking for a secret to get around Facebook not penalizing you for providing a link, Breaking news does very well on Facebook, first of all. And now Facebook offers you in the upper right-hand corner a thing that says trending on Facebook. And that trending is entirely news-driven. So if you click on one of those, you'll see all your friends who like it. If you're the first to break it, then you can basically create a trend. If like everyone posts it, like you break it, and then 2 seconds later, 1,000 more news outlets break it, but you were the first to break it. So you have a huge opportunity to make sure that yours is showing up in that trending arena. Post a picture, breaking news, all text, caps, however you want to do it. Type what, whatever the breaking news is, picture, right? No link. Wait a minute, and go back to that picture, click edit, and then put underneath that text, click here, link. Or you could say, breaking news, blah, 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 picture. In your comment sections, article here, boom. Facebook won't penalize you I'm sorry?
Later is enough.
Yeah.
Okay. And about hashtags, are hashtags...
Hashtags suck on Facebook.
Do they work on
Yeah,
Facebook?
they suck on Facebook. There's no purpose for them like right now. There will be. Again, okay, yeah, remember I told you earlier, Facebook announces stuff like, it's happening right now. New York Times picks it up. Facebook has hashtags. Facebook hashtags have not been implemented yet. They do nothing. What they want to do and what they will do in the next 3 to 6 months or whenever they actually implement it will be very Twitter-like or Instagram-like where you can see like entire conversations. But when they did the right now, hashtags are awesome. They are doing the trending section before they actually figured out how to use the hashtag. But the reason trending came out specifically is for the use of hashtags to become viral so that Facebook can eat Twitter's lunch on a news sense. No problem. And that, unfortunately, is it. So if you guys have any questions, feel free to give me your card. Unfortunately, I ran out as of yesterday. And I can shoot you my contact information. Well, actually, you know what? I'll just say it right now. If you want my email, it's Lance, L-A-N-C-E, at beinglatino.us. Thank you all. Hi, how are you?